76 minutes. That's all Alex Eala needed to turn a packed Saturday night in Washington into one of the loudest statements of her career. Across the net stood Naomi Osaka, a four-time Grand Slam champion, former world numero uno, and a player whose biggest titles all came on hard courts. But when the match ended, Osaka had won just 6 games. The score was 6-4, 6-2, and the 21-year-old responsible for it had been ranked numero 143 in the world only 2 years earlier. If you haven't been paying attention to Alex Eala, now might be the time to start. Rock Creek Park was packed with Philippine flags, 3 stars and a sun everywhere you looked. The atmosphere was so loud that Osaka admitted an Eala match barely felt like traditional tennis. She compared the energy to a basketball game. And that matters because Eala isn't simply winning matches anymore. She's bringing an audience into tennis that the sport has never had before. Her story makes the rise even more remarkable. The Philippines has never had an established pipeline producing elite singles players. Basketball and boxing dominate the sports culture, and Manny Pacquiao became the country's global athletic icon through an entirely different sport. Eala had no proven Filipino tennis blueprint to follow, so as a teenager she left home and moved across the world to train in Europe. At 13, she was sacrificing a normal childhood for a chance that offered absolutely no guarantees. For years, the climb was brutal. In 2023, she was still playing Grand Slam qualifying. In 2024, she won an ITF 100 event in Spain and reached numero 143 in July. That ranking is impressive, but professional tennis between numero 100 and numero 200 can be unforgiving. Players travel constantly, pay major expenses themselves, and fight for entry into bigger tournaments without knowing whether the breakthrough will ever come. Then Miami happened in March 2025. Playing on a wild card, Eala defeated world no. 5 Madison Keys and then world numero 2 Iga Swiatek. She became the first Filipina to reach a WTA semifinal and broke into the top 100. Suddenly, she wasn't unknown anymore. The entire country was watching, but fame brought a new question: could she do it again? In Miami, Jessica Pegula stopped her in a 3-set semifinal. Eala lost the first set tiebreak 7-6, fought back to take the second 7-5, and then dropped the deciding set 6-3. 3 months later in Eastbourne, she reached her first WTA final, and lost again. 2 huge opportunities. Twice she got close. She still finished 2025 ranked numero 50, an incredible leap, but one question remained: was she simply dangerous enough to upset elite players, or could she actually win tournaments? There was another concern. Eala is left-handed, creative, quick, and technically gifted, but she doesn't rely on a massive serve for easy points. When players like Osaka get in trouble, their serve can rescue them. Eala usually has to construct points, return aggressively, and solve problems rally by rally. Then Birmingham changed everything. In June 2026, Eala won the title. It wasn't the biggest tournament of the season, but psychologically, that victory mattered. She had finally walked through a door that had closed on her before. Then came Berlin. She defeated Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina and world numero 10 Elena Svitolina, beating Svitolina 6-3, 6-4. At Wimbledon, Eala reached the 4th round, becoming the first Filipino player of the Open era to reach that stage of a Grand Slam. Her run became such a national moment that the Philippine president formally recognized the achievement, and then something fascinating happened in Washington. Eala met Svitolina again, different country, different surface, different conditions, and beat her by the exact same score, 6-3, 6-4. That doesn't look like random momentum anymore. It looks like a repeatable solution. The same pattern appeared against Osaka. At 4-4 pulgadas the opening set, Eala earned 3 break points. Osaka saved them, exactly the kind of moment where a 4-time major champion can crush a younger player's confidence. Instead, Eala stayed locked in, broke anyway, and then served out the set at love. In the second set, Osaka double faulted during the opening game. Eala broke immediately, and then held at love again. Under maximum pressure, the player supposedly limited by her serve looked completely composed, and Osaka wasn't the only big name Eala took down in Washington. First came Zheng Qinwen, an Olympic gold medalist, former world numero 4, and Australian Open finalist. Eala lost the first set 6-4, then flipped the match, winning 6-4, 6-1. Next came defending Washington champion and US Open finalist Leylah Fernandez, beaten 6-2, 7-6. Then Svitolina went down 6-3, 6-4. Then Osaka, 6-4, 6-2 an Olympic champion. A defending champion. A top 10 player. A four-time Grand Slam champion. One tournament, the numbers make the argument even stronger. According to the source storyline, Eala has 6 top 10 victories in 2026 and 8 wins in 12 career matches against top 10 opponents. That is not the profile of somebody occasionally catching stars on bad days. Her return game may explain why. Against Svitolina in Washington, Eala won 24 return points while Svitolina won 13. Instead of trying to become a power server overnight, Eala appears to have flipped the problem around. She attacks her opponent's serve, especially second serves, and her left-handed patterns create uncomfortable angles. The opponent's service game, the place where they're supposed to feel safest, becomes the pressure point. That brings us back to Osaka. How does a player who was número 143 2 years earlier dismantle a four-time major champion in 76 minutos? Not by trying to hit harder than Osaka. By making Osaka uncomfortable every time she stepped up to serve. Eala entered Washington ranked no. 28, already the highest-ranked Filipino singles player ever, and moved to número 25 in the live rankings. But one match remained, and waiting for her was Jessica Pegula, the same player who ended her Miami run. Pegula entered the Washington final as the world número 3 and top seed, with a 22-4 hardcourt record that season. She had also won this tournament in 2019. For Eala, victory would mean her first WTA title, roughly 252,000 pulgadas prize money according to the source, and a potential debut inside the world top 20. Pegula knew exactly what was coming. She called the matchup a battle, praised Eala, and described her as part of the tour's future, but also made the larger point: Eala isn't simply coming someday. She's already here, and maybe that's the biggest story. Ticket demand rose around her appearances. Washington sold out. Filipino fans transformed a tennis stadium into something louder and more emotional. When Eala was asked what it felt like to receive that kind of support, her answer captured the entire journey. This, she explained, is what it feels like to be Filipino. 2 years ago, Alex Eala was ranked 143rd, traveling through the grind of professional tennis with no proven path from her country to follow. Now she's beating champions, rewriting Philippine tennis history, and forcing everyone to reconsider her ceiling. The question may no longer be whether Alex Eala can reach the top 20. The real question is whether anyone has been aiming high enough when imagining how far she can actually go.